But step one of a meaningful communication is back to that segmentation you talked about, and how equipped are hoteliers or their CRMs to really segment the way we need to.
Well, it's segmentation can be quite complicated in what you're targeting. So step one, know what it is that you're wanting to get out there. An example I always give is I had a hotel once that wanted to communicate to guests of a previous year during a period of time that they had a potato festival. It was a very important event for them. And so they wanted to send out a campaign and just,
Hey,
it's a potato festival. It was a big deal.
I've never been to a potato festival, but
I haven't either, but it's really
you have my attention.
In Idaho. Yeah.
Okay. Idaho.
So, but this is real. So they have this festival, and it's a group business that would come in every year. So what they wanted to do was send out a campaign and blast every customer that they'd ever had inside of 2 years about their potato festival. So rather than doing that, I worked with them to really target, okay, guests that actually stayed during the period of time of the potato festival, right? So that's step one. Guests that came to their property for the potato festival, right? Not just happened to be staying over during that period of time. And once we started really micro segmenting their data, what we found was they really only had 9 guest profiles that had any kind of information that you could use to communicate with a guest, i.e. an email address, that actually stayed during a potato festival and were there for the potato festival. So the campaign, kind of lost its value. So then you start looking at, okay, well, what about an awareness? Is this something we can interest other people in? And then you can start micro segmenting, other clusters of people about this festival. But in reality, their big blast to go to 50,000 people, by segmenting, got whittled down to only 9 people that was relevant for. And what's going to come out of that story is hoteliers come back to me and say, well, I want to talk to more than 9 people. And they do. And you're right. But you want to talk to more than 9 people in a way that if you look at every guest as having a value, right? And they do. They have, everybody spends money at your property that when they come. So they each have a value. Every opt-out that you get from a campaign has a dollar amount assigned to it. So what happens is you blast all 50,000 and you get 10% of those people that opt out. But that doesn't mean that they didn't necessarily want to hear from you or that they wouldn't be interested in taking advantage of marketing in the future. It means they weren't interested in the potato festival. And so they opted out. So much like on the revenue management side, where you look at guest reviews as having a dollar value because a negative review might change another customer's mind, the same thing is true with opt-outs. If you just blast everybody, then you're going to get opt-outs simply because you didn't send them something that was relevant to them, rather than truly people that don't want to hear from you. So you lose that value. One of those opt-outs could have been a converted guest on your next campaign had it been targeted.
Okay. So what about a CRM? I mean, how is a CRM going to help us with these meaningful messages that drive bookings?
Well, CRM lets you build out a series of rules that looks at the information that you have on your guests. And a powerful CRM can connect to both your PMS, so your property management system, and your central reservation system. A powerful CRM can influence the guest interaction or the guest experience in both of those systems, whether that be in the call center applications or on the booking engine. The CRM that can do that is also gathering all of the information from all of those systems, right? Regardless of the channel that the guest books on. So if the guest books through an OTA, or they book in the call center, or they book on property, all of that data is getting put together, matched, cleaned, and put into a sensible format in the CRM. What you can do with that is really look at each of those sets of information as unique opportunities for communication. So in a CRM tool that lets you create your own segments or your own sender lists, if you will, depending on how you want to name it, you should be able to create a series of statements that bucket your guests into meaningful little groups, right? So I can say all guests who live within 5 miles of the hotel and have an email address on file and have stayed during this period of time over the last, I don't know, 24 months, and have spent this many dollars and have stayed longer than 2 nights. You know, you can really, really look at them, and you can say, or that people that booked under a specific market segment, or people that stayed in certain room types. And you can create all of these various buckets that really are based on what those guest behaviors or patterns are, and then talk to those people differently than each other. So then you can communicate with each one of those buckets about the same event, but in a different way. And then you can also set up communication series, right? An intelligent CRM is going to let you say, I'm going to talk to the guest, I'm going to send them this message, right? So you start with one, and then if they open it, then I'm going to send them something else. If they've read it, I might send them a thank you. If they didn't open it, or if they opened it but didn't click on anything, then you can set up a series of what happens next with them, right? So you can kind of look at these conditions. Did they open it? Did they read it? Yes. Did they click on it? No. Okay, then wait 2 weeks and send them a reminder. And then if they opened and clicked on that but they didn't book, okay, wait a week and then send them a reminder, or 24 hours, if you will. And you can set up these series that really talk about what was the guest doing, how did they engage, and base future communications on how they engaged with you in the past.
So what about the past booking behavior? You talked about a CRM well connected to a CRS. I mean, what is the difference between, you know, an OTA booker and a direct booker in this context?
So every OTA, they have different ways that they pass their data, right? They all start with their data being passed to the CRS. That's not true. Some have direct connects to their PMS as well, but the data that they are willing to share to whatever their connected system is defined by each OTA. So you get very little data, similar to like the GDS, you get very little data. However, in a situation where these people are booking and your CRS is deeply connected, your CRM has that information immediately, right? And it's immediately taking whatever data the OTA is willing to share and trying to connect that particular guest record with anybody that's existing that matches. So if that's true, let's say booking.com, they share a first name, a last name, and a phone number, for example, and maybe a state code, I think. That comes in, that's enough for me to identify you as the same customer that came in through booking.com as the same customer that stayed on property directly last year, where I have your better communication method. I can put those two together. Now I know that you are the same person. You're both an OTA booker and an on-site booker, and I can set up communication specifically to that OTA booker based on that OTA reservation, if you want, or in the future to try to get them to, again, we always want them to book direct. It's not always feasible, but you can offer specific different experiences to get them to book direct by way of taking that information, communicating to them, getting them into your booking engine, modifying the booking experience and giving them discrete offers that only apply to them because you have them in your CRM, and then they start booking direct. There's a potential there. But with the CRS connection, you really get that data in real time and you get to clean it. You don't have to wait for it to go through the path to get to the PMS, for it to get to assign to a room, for it to get to your CRM, and then have been modified maybe at the PMS level, where there isn't really profile cleansing.